So for number 16, we can first subtract these two equations, and that makes 4 disappear on the left side. Mm. And we can use a sum and difference formula for the right side. That means, so because x and y's are not the same, we can cancel x minus y. That means, yep, so what's the sum of x and y in this equation? Uh,
3.
3. And then we can add these two equations. So now the left side is 3 plus 4 and 4, that's 11. And for the right side, if we open the parentheses, we have this. And because x plus y is 3, so yeah, so now what's the sum of x squared and y squared?
4.
I mean, the left side is 11,
Oh,
right?
15.
Yeah, 50. Yeah. For number 17, let's make this graph. I mean, we can make the graph by hand, but I'm just going to use calculator. If there is a line, mm, I need to adjust the scale. Still some problem. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. Yeah, let's use this scale. And x is 1 is a vertical line. Mm, and we wanna make a equilateral triangle. Mm, when the third line passes through the origin. Okay. Because uh, because the degree of this angle is 30 degrees, because tangent 30 is the 1 over square root of 30 from the slope. Uh, so if we make a line passing through the origin, this, what I wanna say is, I mean, so these two are also 30 degrees because this triangle is equilateral. One angle is 60 degrees. And so this one is 60 degrees. Okay, okay. So that means, I mean, these angles are all 30 degrees to make this total angle 60 degrees. So that means the slope of this line is minus 1 over square root of 3. So the equation of the third line is y is minus 1 over square root of x. And because it passes through the origin, the y-ness is 0. And so in this case, when x is 1, this uh, where is eraser? This length. This length is the y value. So because the length is always positive, the length of this is 1 over square root of 3. And for this length, when x is 1, the second y value is 1 plus 1 over square root of 3. So that means the side length of this equilateral triangle is 1 plus 2 over square root of 3. And for the perimeter, we are going to multiply 3. So 3 plus 2 times square root of 3 is the perimeter. Yeah, so the answer is D. In number 18, if we use this 16-digit number system instead of 10-digit, uh, so 16 times 16 is 256. So using the two digits, we can express this 256 numbers. So the smallest number will be 0, and the biggest number will be 255 in terms of tens digit. So uh, we can think of this plate containing all the 256 numbers. And then because after this number 9, we are going to use these letters. So the number containing only the numbers is this 10 by 10. So out of 256 numbers, 100 numbers, we can use the numbers to indicate the value. So if there are 1000 integers, to express this 1000 numbers using this base 16 system, we need these 4 plates because one plate contains 256. 256 times 4 is more than 1000. And each plate contains these 100 numbers, having only the numbers, not letters. So, so the number of these numbers, I mean, containing only this numeric digit, will be 100 times 4. So 400. But because we start from number 0, uh, we want to think of a positive integer. So we need to subtract this 0. So if we subtract 1 from 400, the total uh, number of integers is 399. So what's the sum of these digits? Can you add these 3 digits? Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
What?
Yep, yep. What's the sum of these three numbers?
Oh, sorry. 21.
Yep. So the answer is E. Uh, for number 19, Yeah, let's make the graph again. If the area is 12.5 in isosceles right triangle, because isosceles right triangle is a half of a square, the square's area is 25. So that means the side length of the square is 5. So if we make the graph, we can use this graph. Uh, so this line and x-axis and y-axis makes this the isosceles right triangle. And we want to trisect this the right angle. That means trisect means one angle will be 30 degrees. So we can make two equations. Uh, the tangent 30 is 1 over square root of 3. So uh, uh, so that's the first line for the trisection. The second one is tangent 60 degrees square root of 3. So that's the second line. And we want to find the area of this intermediate triangle. So we can subtract these two triangles from a big triangle, and that will make the area of the remaining triangle. So if we want to find the intersection point, we can use these equations. So if we use the first two equations, uh, if I change y to this x over square root of 3, that's 5. So uh, this is x coordinate of this intersection point. So for the y coordinate, this is y coordinate, and we are interested in y coordinate actually, because y coordinate is the altitude of this triangle. So if the height of the triangle is this, and the base of this triangle is 5, so if we multiply base and height and divide it by 2 is the area of this triangle, but there is the same the congruent triangle here. So because the total area is 12.5, 25 over 2, we are going to subtract the product of these two. So if we rationalize the denominator, mm, something like this. This is the area of this intermediate triangle. Yeah, so from the choices, which one is equal to this one? Which one is equal to this from the choices? When you open the parentheses,
Hmm? 25 minus. Which one is what?
I mean, from the choices, which one is equal to this one?
D.
Yep. How about number 20 in area and perimeter? Mm. So because this is a rectangle, The length that width times width is area, and for perimeter, 2 times length plus width. So if we add the area and perimeter, if we add 4 to both sides, we can make the factoring for the right side. And then we can test these values. So for example, so let's start with the 100. If a plus p is 100, the left side is 104. And 104, to make the 104, we can multiply 4 times 26, and that will satisfy the value of, we'll be able to find the integer value for length and width if two numbers are 4 and 26. So 100 is okay. And how about 102? So if a plus p is 102, if we add 4, the left side is 106. So what's the prime factorization of 106? Which two numbers make 106 when multiplied? Can you make prime factorization of 106?
Of 106?
Yeah. Which two numbers make 106 when multiplied?
253?
Yeah, 253. But this is a problem because if L plus 2 is 2, L should be 0, but that doesn't make sense. L should be positive. So that's why 102 is not possible. So the answer is B. And for number 21, let's make this tetrahedron on the three-dimensional coordinate. Yep, so if we use a 300, three-dimensional coordinates, what am I doing here? Uh, yep, so let's put the vertex C at the origin because ABC is a right triangle. Uh, that means, yep, the coordinate for A is 3, 0, and 0. And for B, 0, 4, and 0, when C is at the origin. So the right triangle is at the base. And to find the coordinate of D, mm, so D will be located somewhere here. So, uh, so the length of BD is 4. So if we use the distance formula, this is 4 squared, and length of AD, let's see this, length of AD is 3, so that's 9. And for the length of CD, we are just make the square sum of these squares. So if we subtract this third equation from the first equation, only minus 8y remains, and that's equal to this value. So if we divide both the sides by 8, y coordinate is 36 over 25. And if we subtract the third equation from second equation, once again, the squares disappear, and 6x, yeah, 6x is this one. So that means x coordinate is 48 over 25. And then, we want to find this g squared, g value, because z is the altitude of this tetrahedron. So because we know x and y values, using third equation, we can find the value of z. Hmm. So let's multiply this 25 squared to remove a denominator. And then for 48 squared and 36 squared, I mean 48 is 12 times 4 and 36 is 12 times 3, so we can use the Pythagorean theorem. So these two makes the 12 times 5 squared, I mean, yep. Uh, so that's uh, 60 squared, am I right? 12 times 4, 12 times 4, yeah. These two make 60 squared. Yep. And what is this? Why is this? Am I right? One more zero? Or, hmm. No, 7,200. So that means, okay. So because 60 squared is 3,600, if we subtract 3,600, this is 3,600. So now if we make the square root on both sides, like this, so the value of z is uh, 12 over 5. Yeah, that's the high altitude of this tetrahedron. So now we can find the volume. Volume means what's the area of this base triangle? 3 and 4 makes the area of a base triangle is 6, and the height is 12 over 5. And because this is the pyramid, we need to divide this by 3. Yep, so what's the final answer? What's the volume from the choices? So what is the 6 times 4 over 5? Can you find the volume from the choices? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
find the product of these two. 6 times 4 fifth.
24/5.
Yep, so the answer is C. And number 22. So let's number these 8 people from 1 to 8. And the first case is it's possible that no one gets ahead. So that means no two people, adjacent people will stand. That's one possibility. So if there is zero head, the case is one because all people have the tails in this case. And if there is only one person who has a head, because he's the only person, there will be no adjacent people standing. That's the number of cases for one head is 8 because there are 8 people, and one of the 8 people can have a head. That's why the number of cases is 8. And let's think of the case when two people have heads, but these two people should be separate. So if we make the numbering, let's say number one person gets a head. In such case, number two cannot have a head. In such case, they will be adjacent. So the second case, second person should be 3 or 4, something like this. And then 1 and 8 also is not possible because they are circle. They make the circle, so 1 and 8 are also adjacent. So that means if number one people gets ahead, there are 5 cases not to be adjacent. And we can do these things for all 8 people, so we need to multiply 8. But in this case, we are counting them twice. Uh, 1 and 5 is equal to 5 and 1, so we need to divide this by 2. So the number of cases for 2 heads is 20. And let's think of the case when 3 people gets the head, so 3 heads. So once again, let's say number one person gets head and not to be adjacent, number 3 can have a head and not to be adjacent to number 3, number 5 person gets a head. That's one arrangement, possible arrangement. And we can increase the number up to 7, or it's also possible to have this arrangement, not to be adjacent. Uh, or this. Also, in the case when number 1 person gets head, there are 6 possible cases. So we are going to multiply 8 for the all 8 people. But in this case, because it makes triple, we need to divide this by 3 uh, to eliminate the redundancy. So that means, yeah, what's the value of this? What is 6 times 8 divided by 3? So 2 times 8 is 16. There are 16 cases when 3 people gets head and not adjacent. And the final case is 4 heads. If 4 people get head, uh, what type of arrangement is possible? In such case, if all people have odd number or all people have even number, they will not be adjacent. So in this case, there are 2 cases. And after getting more than 5 number of heads, we cannot make all people separate. So that's the max. 4 heads are the maximum. So now we can add these numbers. What's the sum of these 5 numbers? Can you add these 5 numbers? Yeah, what's the sum of these 5 numbers?
47.
47, and then the total number of cases, the 2 to the 8th power, because there are 8 people and each person gets 2 choices, head or tail. So what's the 2 to the 8th power? What's the denominator?
256.
Yeah, so the answer is A. And number 23 is a little similar to this number 20. So let's think of the similarity. Mm. So the zeros are integers, so that means the sum of the zeros is also integer and product is also integer. So let's say the two zeros are m and n. So m plus n is a in this this function, and the product of these two zero is 2a. So that means we can change a to the sum of m and n. So if we make the factoring like this, so we can have this equation. So to make number 4, we can think of 4 cases like this. So for the first case, m should be 3. I mean, we can add 2 to these values to find the original value of m and n. So if m is 3, n is 6. Hmm. So there are four pairs, and the value of A is the sum of M and N. So the first pair makes 9. The sum is. So we can add these four values. Yeah, what's the sum of these four numbers? Can you find the sum of this?
16.
Yep. In number 24, let's make a graph for this quadrilateral. Let me see. Sure. This quadrilateral is a trapezoid because there are two right angles at B and C. So how can we make the graph? Mm, yeah, we can think of this type of trapezoid. Mm, A, B, C, D. So B and C have the right angles like this. And because length of AB is 2, A's x coordinate is 2. And we don't know the height of this trapezoid, so let's say height is h. And okay, length of AD and CD are equal. So uh, if this x coordinate is x, I mean, so CD length is x. So CD squared is equal to AD squared. So we can use distance formula like this. So we can cancel x squared. So h squared is, and we want to find the perimeter of this quadrilateral. Yeah, perimeter, P for perimeter. So that means h2 and x and x. So P is equal to h plus 2 plus 2x. And because we have the equation for h and x, we can change this 2x in terms of h. 2x is, am I? No, 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 something is not right. Yeah, plus 4. Yeah, so 2x is like this. And we wanna find the value when p is less than 2015, so this value should be less than 2015. So if we multiply 2 to remove the denominator, we can make the square for the left side. Yeah, so h plus 1 should be less than the square root of 4023. I mean, so we need to think of the estimate the value of h to satisfy this inequality, because 60 squared is 3,600. 4,000 is close to this number. So that's the so h is kind of 60 plus or something. So if we test, uh, h is 62. The 63 squared. 63 times 63. It's still less than this 4,023. So uh, it's possible that h is 62. But if h is 63, this is okay. But if h is 63, 64 squared, 64 squared is greater than this 4023. So it's not possible to have h is 63. And then we need to be careful of this term, the h squared divided by 2. Why it's not working? Yep, so because p is integer, to remove this on the denominator 2, h should be even number. If h is odd number, h squared is still odd, and odd divided by 2 is not integer. So h can be 62, and how many even numbers are in from 1 to 62? How many even numbers are possible? So we need to divide the 60,
31.
31. So the possible parameter value is 31. And in number 25, so let's make a square of a side length 1. And the 2-point distance should be at least 1 over 2. We want to find the probability. Mm, So let's make a square. The side length is 1, and I'm going to dissect these squares further this way. So that means the small square's side length is 1 over 2. So let's say one point is here. Let's say this point is x. And if y is on the same segment, in such case, the distance between x and y cannot be greater than 1 over 2. So we don't have to think of this case. Uh, I mean, and the second case is two points are adjacent side like this. X is here and y is here. In such case, it's possible to make the distance more than one half, at least one half. So if we think of the probability, we can make another graph uh, for x and y. So x and y. And we are measuring the distance x and y from the origin. Origin is here. So to be in the first segment, the x range is from 0 and 1 half. And for y, to be in the second segment, the y's range is from 1 over 2 and 1. So this square is the probability when x and y's locations are here. And then the distance between x and y, uh, in this case y is greater than x, we can subtract x from y, and this should be at least 1 half. And if we make the graph of this inequality here, this part is the area we want. So for the probability, uh, because this diagonal divides the square in half, the probability is 1 over 2. So for y to be in this segment, because there are total 8 segments around this square, uh, for the location, probability is 1 8. And for this area, the probability is 1 over 2. That's one case. And now we can move y to other segments. So if y is one of these, uh, the segment length will be obviously greater than 1 half. So that means there are total 5 segments to make the distance uh, greater than 1 half. So we can add the 5/8 for the possibility, probability. And x and y can be adjacent at the corner like this. And in this case, the distance between x and y, we need to use the Pythagorean theorem. So in this case, x squared plus y squared should be greater than or equal to the 1/4, the half squared. And if we make the graph of this uh, in xy coordinate plane, I mean, this area is for the region of this inequality. So that means we need to subtract this quarter circle from the square. So that means um, uh, uh, if the uh, if the area of this square is 1, am I right? Yeah, 1. The this is quarter circle area is pi over 4. So the probability for this area is 1 minus pi over 4, and the segment probability is 1/8. So when we add these three probabilities, that makes the total probability. So if we simplify this expression, for the denominator, we can use 32. Yeah, so we can have this expression. If we compare these two, A is 26, B is 1, and C is 32. So what's the sum of these three numbers? Can you add these three numbers? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Add these three numbers. What's the sum of these three numbers?
59.
59. So the answer is A. Mm, yeah. So that was 2015 A. Yeah.